I had been gone for 8 months, during which time I was surrounded by stillness, steel, and salt. The Ardon Valor wasn't just a cargo ship, it was a floating world of its own, a place where you learn how to listen, think, and wait. The fog. Over the sea peeled away like old skin as we drove into port that morning. My boots struck the dock with a thud that felt final. It was heavier than I had remembered. My duffel bag was over one shoulder, containing a bag of Raya's wooden toys underneath the other, and a letter I'd written to Maylene, partly tucked inside my jacket pocket. The cab ride was silent. I hadn't notified anyone, not even my wife, or the crew, that I was coming. I wanted to surprise everyone, especially her. My plan was simple. Just ring the doorbell. Before I could seem too composed and whirl Raya around the living room, observe their smiling expressions, and pull Malik into an embrace. I kept playing her high-pitched giggle in my thoughts while working night shifts, hoping to hear it again. But it wasn't what I expected. I leaned forward, perplexed, as the cab turned onto Chestnut Lane. There was a silver automobile in front, of my house that I didn't recognize. It was brand new and cliched. The most startling part? A tacky plastic plate on the rear bumper, along with white balloons and ribbons strung around the side mirrors that said, "Just married." I stared, wondering if I was in the wrong spot. The hydrangeas and red mailbox were still there. I got out of the taxi, confused, bag still in hand, and saw the same light crack on the garage glass. My heart pounded as though it had been taken by surprise, and I gazed at the car as though continuing to look would make it disappear. My phone exploded. The screen showed Maylene, but it was a brief message, not a call. Ruthless, casual, nearly cruel. "Don't come, the children don't come, the locks are changed. Want you to know that it's done." No salutation, no explanation. Just a cold statement. I stood there, duffel slipping down my arm, staring at that message while my thumb hovered over the keyboard. I simply typed back 2 words as you requested, and I didn't even realize I meant it, because something inside of me changed at that moment. Whatever warmth I had brought home, whatever thoughts of movie nights on the couch, reunions, pancakes, and pajamas, it all turned to frost. A man doesn't endure storms by looking at the clouds or the water in panic. As soon as I saw her message, I realized I was in a different kind of storm, one that didn't involve rain. She claimed the locks had been changed, but I didn't check the handle when I knocked on the door. She wanted me to feel inferior, but I wasn't. What mattered was that she wanted me to think I was. As I turned to go, I discovered a bench close by behind the dogwood tree that provided shade for our neighborhood park. I sat down and observed the front door. No curtains, no movement. She didn't even glance out the window if she was inside. Perhaps she worried I would yell at her or smash anything, call her derogatory names, but I've been taught to stay silent, and that's what I did. With the greatest of intentions, I took out my phone once more and made another call, not to a buddy, but to Kasha Baines, my lawyer. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was chilly and piercing, like the click of, "A loaded chamber. I assumed you wouldn't return until next month." "Change of plans," I muttered softly. She was silent for a beat, not hesitating, just waiting. "Talk to me about the calculations," I said. I completed everything. The automobile, the balloons, the letter. She didn't gasp or reassure me, which wasn't what I wanted. Ruthless. Smart. She had been my legal counsel on a maritime port lawsuit 2 years prior. I remembered how the opposing counsel tried to shake her during her deposition, and how she handled it. He was still speaking when she filed the case. When I concluded, she asked just one question. "Do you want her back?" I hesitated, then answered, "No, I want to win." Then came that sound again. "Good," she responded with a smile, perhaps some teeth. "Then, let's start the game." got up from the bench, passed the just married sign as if it didn't exist, and made my way back toward the main road. I let the wind carry it and placed the letter for Meline on the bench. She had already made her decision. It wasn't the message she needed any more. I would now make mine. He disappeared when things fell apart, and now it was Meline's turn. She brought him two things he had never had before: children. Kasia added in a trust that his educational initiative in Costa Rica doesn't exist. It's a tax shelter. He intends to relocate after his nonprofit license was canceled last year due to improper filings. She looked at me and said, "If he tries that, I'll have him flagged at every port from here to Lima." I murmured to the youngsters there. As I continued to look through the folder, I discovered that Meline had married a parasite. But even worse, she was assisting him. In reality, I wasn't sure which was worse, that she was either blind or complicit, until I got to the very end, a page of a property ledger. A printout of the transactions from the Shell Corporation that we discovered earlier in her research. The business purchasing our home and the one next door was registered under a name I recognized, Maddox Knox Holdings, but I hadn't heard of them in years. It seems that my name isn't Meline's or Eller's. Meline and I were planned to start a family back when we were still in love. Empire made it simpler for us to invest by registering a sham LLC in my name. I had signed the paperwork in the future, of course, but I was unaware that it still existed. And I most definitely didn't know Kasia was already grinning and wanted to twist the knife, but she was using it to channel her compound fantasy. "Not yet," I stated. "I want to see him wriggle first." Later that day, I requested Kasia to set up a meeting. It would be man to man, with no courtrooms or suits. I wanted to shake Quinn's hand, look him in the eye, and give him the impression that he had triumphed. Only then would I show him what the battlefield actually looked like. We met at a cafe, 2 streets from the courthouse. It was under public neutral control, and I was wearing navy. He showed up wearing a tan blazer, loafers, and no socks. As expected, he held out his hand, and I accepted it. Sterling knocked, grinning. "Thank you." I nodded and sat across from him, assuming, so we could finally talk. Mano a mano. He chuckled, so I presumed that was not to congratulate me on not coming back. Quinn paused as the laugh merely stirred the dark coffee I hadn't touched. "I'm not here to fight you," he said. He moved forward to give me a choice. "Go ahead and take Meline. Enjoy her charm and trust fund. I won't stop you because of her